June 6, 1944. The air crackled with a tension thicker than the morning fog rolling in over the English Channel. For months, the Allied forces had been meticulously planning, training, and preparing for this moment. Operation Overlord, the audacious invasion of Nazi-occupied Europe, was about to begin. The fate of the free world hung in the balance, a colossal gamble that would either liberate a continent or plunge it into an even deeper abyss. The beaches of Normandy, France, stretched out seemingly peacefully, but beneath the surface, a deadly network of German defenses lay waiting. Barbed wire, anti-tank obstacles, mines, and heavily fortified bunkers bristled along the coastline. General Dwight D. Eisenhower, Supreme Commander of the Allied Expeditionary Force, knew the stakes. He had written a predated letter to be released if the invasion failed, taking full responsibility. The weight of millions of lives and the future of democracy itself rested on his shoulders. The initial assault began in the pre-dawn hours, with paratroopers dropping behind enemy lines. Their mission: to secure key bridges, disrupt German communications, and sow chaos. The night jump was a terrifying ordeal. Flak burst in the air, tracer fire illuminated the darkness, and many paratroopers landed far from their intended drop zones. Yet, through sheer grit and determination, they began to achieve their objectives, often fighting isolated and desperate battles against a bewildered but determined enemy. Their actions were crucial, softening the defenses and creating pathways for the seaborne invasion that was to follow. As dawn broke, the naval bombardment commenced. Battleships, destroyers, and cruisers unleashed a thunderous barrage on the German coastal defenses. The roar was deafening, a symphony of destruction designed to break the enemy's will and pave the way for the landing craft. Thousands of ships, the largest armada ever assembled, churned through the choppy waters, carrying hundreds of thousands of young men towards an uncertain destiny. Then came the landings. 5 distinct beaches, codenamed Utah, Omaha, Gold, Juno, and Sword, became the focal points of the invasion. Each beach presented its own unique horrors and challenges. Utah Beach. The American forces landing on Utah initially faced lighter resistance than anticipated, largely due to strong currents pushing their landing craft south of their intended positions. This fortunate navigational error meant they landed in a less heavily defended area. Nevertheless, the fighting was fierce, and individual acts of heroism were commonplace as soldiers pushed inland, linking up with the paratroopers and establishing a vital foothold. The careful planning and swift action of Brigadier General Theodore Roosevelt, Jr., son of the former president, who personally led the charge ashore despite being 56 years old and suffering from arthritis, inspired his troops, and was later awarded the Medal of Honor. Omaha Beach. This was the deadliest of the D-Day landings, earning it the grim moniker Bloody Omaha. The naval bombardment here was largely ineffective, failing to neutralize the German strongpoints. The terrain itself was a killing zone, a narrow strip of shingle beach overlooked by towering bluffs riddled with machine gun nests and artillery positions. As the landing craft approached, the ramps dropped, and soldiers were mowed down by a relentless hail of fire. Many drowned under the weight of their equipment. Others were killed before they even reached the sand. The bravery displayed by the American GIs on Omaha was beyond measure. They crawled forward under unimaginable fire, using anything they could find for cover, slowly, painfully, inching their way up the bluffs. Small groups, often leaderless, began to improvise, using Bangalore torpedoes to blast through wire and scaling the cliffs under relentless enemy fire. It was a testament to their courage and resilience that any progress was made at all. The Rangers, tasked with scaling Pointe du Hoc, faced a perilous ascent up sheer cliffs under heavy fire to neutralize German artillery. Their success, though costly, prevented those guns from raining down on Omaha and Utah beaches. Gold, Juno, and Sword beaches. The British and Canadian forces landing on Gold, Juno, and Sword beaches faced their own formidable challenges, though generally not on the same scale of devastation as Omaha. They encountered heavily fortified positions, fierce German resistance, and the threat of armored counterattacks. On Gold Beach, the British 50th Infantry Division, supported by specialized Hobart's Funnies, ingenious armored vehicles designed for engineering tasks like mine clearing and obstacle breaching, managed to establish a solid beachhead. Juno Beach saw the Canadian 3rd Infantry Division push further inland than any other Allied force on D-Day, despite facing a determined German 716th Infantry Division and armored elements. Their bravery was exceptional, but the fighting was intense, house to house, as they fought their way through coastal towns. On Sword Beach, the British 3rd Infantry Division, also supported by Funnies, faced strong opposition, particularly from the German 21st Panzer Division, which launched a significant counterattack late in the day, threatening to split the British and Canadian sectors. The British airborne forces, including the glider-borne troops who captured Pegasus Bridge in a daring nighttime raid, played a critical role in securing the eastern flank of the invasion, preventing German reinforcements from reaching the beaches. Throughout the day, amidst the chaos and carnage, moments of incredible courage and sacrifice unfolded. Medics braved relentless fire to tend to the wounded. Engineers worked frantically to clear obstacles under enemy guns. Officers rallied shattered units, pushing them forward against seemingly insurmountable odds. The battle was not just fought by grand strategies and overwhelming numbers. It was fought by individual soldiers making split-second decisions, driven by a desire for freedom and the bonds of camaraderie. The weather, a crucial factor in the planning, remained unpredictable. Though the initial storm had cleared enough for the invasion to proceed, rough seas plagued the landings, adding to the difficulties and contributing to the casualties. Yet, the sheer scale of the Allied effort was undeniable. Thousands of aircraft provided air cover, bombing German positions and engaging Luftwaffe fighters. The Allied air superiority was a critical advantage, significantly hampering German ability to reinforce or counterattack. As the sun began to set on June 6, 1944, the beaches of Normandy were a scene of utter devastation and triumph. Thousands of casualties had been suffered on both sides. Yet, against all odds, the Allies had secured a foothold. They had landed over 150,000 troops, thousands of vehicles, and vast quantities of supplies. The Atlantic Wall, Hitler's supposedly impregnable fortress, had been breached. The immediate aftermath of D-Day was just as critical. The battle for the beachheads continued for days and weeks, as the Allies fought to expand their limited toehold into a secure logistical base. The Germans, though initially surprised, launched furious counterattacks, particularly with their panzer divisions. The fighting in the Norman Bocage, a landscape of dense hedgerows and sunken lanes, proved to be brutal and unforgiving, slowing the Allied advance considerably. Each hedgerow became a formidable defensive position, turning every field into a killing ground. However, the success of D-Day had a profound and irreversible impact on the course of World War II. It opened up a second front in Western Europe, forcing Germany to divide its forces between the Eastern Front, where they were locked in a desperate struggle with the Soviet Union, and the newly established Western Front. This strategic dilemma stretched German resources to their breaking point, making a decisive victory on either front increasingly impossible. The psychological impact of D-Day on both sides was immense. For the Allies, It was a massive morale boost, a tangible sign that liberation was within reach. For the Germans, it was a devastating blow, shattering the myth of the Atlantic Wall's invincibility and signaling the beginning of the end. The sheer scale of the invasion demonstrated the industrial might and unwavering resolve of the Allied powers. D-Day also showcased the unparalleled coordination and logistical capabilities of the Allied command. The planning involved hundreds of thousands of people from multiple nations, all working towards a common goal. The intelligence gathering, the deception operations, like Operation Fortitude, which successfully misled the Germans about the true landing site, the meticulous training, and the courageous execution all contributed to its eventual success. It was a masterpiece of military planning and execution, a true joint effort across land, sea, and air. The lessons learned from D-Day profoundly influenced military strategy and logistics for decades to come. It underscored the importance of combined arms operations, air superiority, specialized engineering vehicles, and rigorous training. The sheer complexity of launching such a massive amphibious assault against a fortified enemy taught commanders invaluable lessons about coordination, communication, and adaptability in the face of chaos. The medical advancements and techniques used to treat mass casualties, though born of necessity, also had lasting impacts on military medicine. Ultimately, the battle that lasted only hours on those Normandy beaches on June 6, 1944, fundamentally altered the trajectory of World War II. It marked the beginning of the end for Nazi Germany in Western Europe, leading eventually to the liberation of France and the final defeat of the Third Reich less than a year later. It was a pivotal moment in human history, a day when ordinary men performed extraordinary acts of bravery, sacrificing everything for freedom. The legacy of D-Day lives on. It serves as a powerful reminder of the human cost of war, the courage of those who fought, and the enduring importance of defending liberty against tyranny. Every year, we remember the sacrifices made on those hallowed beaches, ensuring that the generations to come understand the immense debt owed to those who fought and died for a brighter future.